Hello, and welcome to the Channel of Stories. Dear listeners, before we start the story, please subscribe to the channel and give this video a like and share in the comments where you are from. Thank you. Here we go.
It was a Tuesday. The kind of Tuesday where the rain sounded like bullets against my window, and my brain was one misstep from implosion. I'd just survived a 4-hour Zoom deposition, still wearing pajama pants with a blazer, caffeine on 4-drip mode. When I heard that pounding on my door, my first thought was that someone had finally snapped and come to collect. When I opened it, I saw him. Soaked, hoodie clinging to him like second skin, a bag of Thai food dangling from one hand. "Is this 503? He asked, breathless. "No. It's 403. FK, sorry. Elevator's broken. I'm dying up here. Do you want water?" His face shifted. Like he hadn't expected kindness. Honestly. Yes. That was the first time Jamie stood in my doorway. He took the water like a man who hadn't had a moment to rest all day. I could see exhaustion written in the angle of his shoulders, the way his fingers trembled slightly. The hallway light flickered, casting a soft halo over his silhouette. He sat on the floor just outside my door, steam from the Thai food fogging up the plastic container. I didn't know him, but something about him felt safe. Familiar. Not in a literal way, I'd never seen him before, but in that deep, cellular way, like your bones recognize something before your mind catches up. I should have gone back to my email. I should have shut the door and pretended that moment didn't matter. But I didn't. I sat down too. For a few minutes, we just breathed in unison, strangers sharing silence like it was a language we both understood. That was the beginning, though I didn't know it then. He said, "People don't usually open the door anymore." I didn't reply. Just looked down at the condensation running off the glass in his hand. Then I asked, "Did they teach you how to handle awkward silences in EMT training?" He chuckled softly. "Nope. That was trial by fire." The elevator dinged again, this time a floor below. He sighed and stood, knees cracking. "Guess I should get this to the right person. But thanks for the water." And the pause. I watched him walk down the hall, rain still dripping from his sleeves, and something in me, something stubborn and buried and tired, stirred for the first time in years. A flicker. A pull. A quiet, stupid hope I wasn't ready to name. I closed the door, leaned back against it, and for the first time in weeks, I smiled. Jamie. 31, former EMT turned delivery guy. I learned that over an awkward 15 minutes, while he nursed a glass of water like it was holy. He had this way of making the air lighter without trying. Dry humor. Honest eyes. The kind of presence that doesn't take space, but holds it. The next night, another knock. "Did you get lost again?" I asked. He grinned. "Nope. Brought you a burger. And someone who won't talk over you." He left it at the door. No charge. I ate the whole thing. Including the fries. And I don't do fries. It became a pattern. He always picked foods I didn't realize I was craving. Like he had a sixth sense for what my stress-soaked brain needed. One night it was miso soup and ginger tea. Another time it was a box of strawberries and dark chocolate. One evening, there was no food. Just him, holding out a weathered CD. "Songs that help when the walls feel too tight," he said. He didn't expect to be invited in. But I did. Not inside my apartment, not yet. But I invited him into my story. Just a few lines at a time. He asked about my job, and I gave a measured answer. "Law," I said. "Mostly litigation." He whistled low. "So you argue for a living?" I smirked. And get paid for it? He nodded. You must be really good at not letting people in. That caught me off guard. But I didn't argue. We started exchanging small things. A folded page from a book. A tea bag taped to a note. Once he handed me a single glove and said, "It's a metaphor. Figure it out." I still haven't. I realized I was looking forward to his knocks. I'd find myself listening for footsteps. Watching the clock around the time he usually came. Even rearranged a Zoom call once so I could be free if he showed up. It wasn't dating. It wasn't friendship. It was whatever exists in the space between curiosity and comfort. Like we were building something without naming it, stacking gestures like bricks, not quite sure what shape the house would take. He texted me one night, just a simple, "Can I drop something off?" And when I said yes, he brought a single cookie and a hand warmer. "You always look cold," he said, "even when it's warm." I hadn't told him about the way I felt lately, tired, thin, like I was wearing my life like a heavy coat. But he knew. Somehow, he knew. And I was starting to hope he'd never stop knocking. He started appearing every few nights. A playlist on a flash drive. A book with a note, "Only read this when you're ready to feel stuff." One night, I cracked. "Why me?" I asked. Jamie shrugged. "Because you look like someone who hasn't been chosen in a while." And I've felt that too. My throat clenched. It was the simplest, most devastating thing anyone had ever said to me. I began waiting for those knocks. I'd pretend I wasn't, that it was just another Tuesday, just another night of spreadsheets and subpoenas. But I checked the hallway more than once each evening. Sometimes he brought nothing but himself. Sometimes he brought stories. Like the one about the old lady who insisted he help her set up her new phone. Or the toddler who called him Snack Man. I listened. I laughed. I shared pieces of myself in return. We began leaving things for each other like kids playing secret pen pal. I'd leave a pack of gum in a brown paper bag. He'd respond with a cartoon sketch of a lawyer in a cape labeled "Closing Arguments, a Superpower." And then the post-it started. He left the first one taped to the takeout box, "You don't have to earn rest." The next, stuck to my doorframe, "It's okay to be soft." Then, "If you forget how to breathe, I'll remind you." They were small, handwritten in messy block letters, sometimes smudged with whatever he'd been eating. I started keeping them. First in a drawer. Then in a showbox. Eventually, I stuck them to the inside of my closet, a little shrine of reminders that someone saw me. Really saw me. One night, I left one for him. Just 4 words, "You knock. I exhale." He didn't mention it. But the next time, his smile was different, quieter. Like I'd handed him something sacred without needing a thank you. And something began to settle in me. Not fall in love, exactly, not yet, but fall into rhythm. Into noticing. Into the strange relief of being seen every few nights by someone who didn't demand anything back. There's a kind of intimacy in the mundane. In giving someone your favorite tea, and seeing them drink it like it's the most natural thing in the world. I did what any overthinking woman with a law degree and trust issues would do. I Googled him. Jamie Saunders. Former EMT. Survived a building collapse during a rescue mission. Saved 2 lives. Broke 5 ribs. PTSD. Quit. Disappeared. They called him a hero. He called himself a runner. The article painted a picture of bravery and sacrifice. A crumbled stairwell. Screams. Smoke. He dragged 2 people out with cracked ribs and a collapsed lung. A photo of him, blood on his forehead, carrying someone on his back. He never mentioned it. Not once. And suddenly, the quiet way he looked at me when I talked about my burnout made sense. It wasn't just empathy. It was lived experience. I found an old podcast interview buried in a rescue workers community forum. Jamie's voice, a little shakier, a little younger. You don't feel the pain when you're pulling someone out. You feel it later. In the quiet. I paused the clip. Sat on the edge of my couch, staring at the wall. That line, you feel it later, hit harder than it should have. I thought about all our silent moments, all the nights he let me ramble about opposing counsel, or judges who interrupted me mid-sentence. He never offered advice. Just nodded. Just stayed. Now I knew why. And the more I knew, the more conflicted I felt. Not because of what he did, but because he didn't tell me. He'd let me believe he was just some guy with a hoodie and kind eyes and bad timing. And he was that. But he was also something more. Something layered. Something with sharp edges I hadn't seen. It made me wonder, how much of what we'd built was real, and how much was him trying to outrun what came before. That night, I didn't sleep. I just sat in bed, his playlist in my ears, watching the ceiling spin slowly above me. I wasn't angry. But I was changed. And I didn't know if that change would pull us together or apart. Why didn't you tell me? I asked. He looked up from his hot cocoa, eyes unreadable. Because I didn't want to be someone's broken story. I wanted to be the guy who brought you noodles and made you laugh. So I kissed him. I'm not even sure who moved first. Only that it was soft. Real. Like the moment had been waiting for us to catch up. That kiss didn't taste like fireworks or fairy tales. It tasted like safety. Like two people who had lived in silence for too long finding a pause they could share. He touched my cheek, not possessively, but gently, like he was afraid I might vanish. When we pulled apart, we didn't speak. Just sat side by side on the floor. Two exiles from their own lives, finding refuge in the space between apartment walls and unspoken truths. Eventually, I said, I saw the article. The podcast too. He didn't flinch. Didn't even sigh. Just stared at the steam rising from his mug. I figured you would. And you didn't want me to know. I didn't want to be that guy again. The one people pity. Or the one they write about like he died in that building and came out something else. You didn't come out something else, I said. You came out someone who knows how to show up. That's what you've been doing for me. He closed his eyes for a long second. Then opened them and met mine. You're not afraid of what I carry. No, I said. Because you carry it without letting it crush anyone else. He let out a breath, quiet but heavy, and set his mug down. I've run from a lot of things. Cities. People. Expectations. But I never wanted to run from you. I just didn't know if I deserved to stay. You don't get to decide that alone, I said. Staying is a choice. And it's not just yours to make. That night, we didn't sleep in the same bed. But we sat on the couch until nearly dawn, just breathing beside each other. My head against his shoulder. His thumb tracing the back of my hand. A silence filled with understanding. And maybe that kiss wasn't the beginning. Maybe it was just the continuation of the moment I offered him water, and he said honestly. Yes. Maybe that's when everything really started. Now he sleeps on the left side of my bed. Still wears that same hoodie. Still brings food when I forget to eat. Notes taped to my mirror, you don't have to be a fortress every day. I'm not going anywhere. I know what silence feels like. But I also know what healing sounds like. It's quieter with him here. But not empty. The kind of quiet where you can finally breathe. He brings warmth into my apartment the way others bring noise. He'll sit with me for hours while I finish work, occasionally reaching over to squeeze my hand, like saying, "I'm here," without interrupting. He doesn't ask what's wrong unless I need him to. He trusts me to come to him. He folds laundry the way a 5-year-old might, socks mismatched, sleeves tangled, but he does it. Happily. Proudly. He once wrote "Victory" on a post-it and stuck it to a halfway folded towel. I still have it. One Thursday night, I came home exhausted, shoes kicked off by the door, mascara smudged under my eyes. I walked into the bathroom and found the tub already running, candles lit, and a clean towel folded on the edge with a note, "Today's over. Come back to yourself." He wasn't even in the room. Just music playing softly and space made for me to exist without explaining myself. Sometimes, we sleep entangled, arms and legs a warm knot of comfort. Other times, we sleep like two islands, barely touching, but steady in our own waters. And both ways feel like love. He talks in his sleep occasionally, half-formed thoughts, a gentle "I've got you," or "It's okay now." I never wake him. I just curl into him and whisper, "I'm here too." Once, I asked him why he always took the left side. He said, "So you can have the side closest to the door. In case you ever need to run." I stared at him. "I won't run," I whispered. "I know," he said. "But you could. And that matters too. It's those small things. The space he gives me. The space he takes. That's how I know he's not just passing through. He's building something here. With me. Around me. And for the first time in a long time, I'm letting myself believe in staying. We never defined it. There was no "so what are we" conversation. Just this slow build of trust, like layering bricks into something that might one day be called home. I had nightmares once. Woke up crying into my pillow. He didn't ask questions. Just held me, hand against my spine, steady. No shushing. No fixing. Just warmth. I fell back asleep. Another time, I came home to find my plants watered, dishes done, and a loaf of banana bread cooling on the counter. He'd remembered me mentioning my mom used to bake it when I was sick. I hadn't realized I even told him that. He made a drawer for his things. Without asking. Just placed a few clothes there one day and smiled. I let it stay. Our lives started to overlap in the quietest ways. His sneakers by the door. My grocery list with his cereal scrawled on it. A toothbrush in my medicine cabinet. He started calling the ugly armchair his spot. I didn't correct him. Sometimes, we'd lie in bed and listen to podcasts without speaking. Just our bodies touching, his hand resting over mine, or fingers gently brushing my hair. When the world outside roared, this became our bunker. One morning, I left early for court. When I got home, the coffee was still warm in the thermos he'd left on the counter, with a note, "Crush it. Then come home." I kept that note in my purse like armor. He's never once said, "I love you." But he's said it in 30 other ways. In fixing the squeaky cabinet hinge. In rubbing my temples when I have a headache. In changing the batteries in the smoke alarm without being asked. We had dinner on the balcony one evening, and I caught him staring at me, soft and certain. I asked, "What?" He shrugged. "You look like a life I didn't know I wanted." That's what we are. Unnamed. Unforced. Unshakable. We fought. Just once. Over nothing, really. My stress exploded, and I lashed out. Told him he didn't understand. He left. I thought it was over. Then an hour later, a knock. a Tupperware of pad thai in his hands. "You still have to eat," he said. I broke. Apologized. He didn't say much. Just pulled me close. We stood like that, saying everything without a word. That night, I cried into his chest. And he whispered, "You can be strong and still have bad days. Both can be true." The fight had started over something small, a weekend trip he mentioned while I was neck-deep in court prep. I snapped, said things I didn't mean. Must be nice to have time to breathe. I saw the way he flinched. Saw the color drain from his face. And he left, quietly, without slamming the door. I stood there afterward, hands still clenched, wondering why it felt like I'd just thrown a grenade into something soft and precious. When he came back, he looked tired. But not angry. "I don't expect you to be perfect," he said. "But I need you to remember that I'm not the enemy." I nodded. "I'm just used to doing everything alone. I forget I don't have to anymore." "We are not built to carry everything by ourselves," he replied. "Let me carry it with you." We ate dinner on the floor. Said too much and then not enough. But between bites and glances, I felt it, the truth that real love isn't about avoiding storms. It's about knowing you'll still be there, drenched and shivering, ready to knock again when it clears. And he did. He always did. Later that night, he brushed a piece of hair from my face and said, "You didn't scare me away. You reminded me why I stay." On my birthday, he gave me a first edition of a book I'd mentioned once in passing. No flowers, no grand gestures. Just, I listen. Even when you think I'm not. Later, I asked if he believed in fate. "Nah," he said. "But I believe in wrong doors opening right ones." He made dinner that night. Set candles on the floor. Played the playlist he gave me months before. I didn't cry. But my heart did something close. He handed me the gift in a plain brown bag. No bow, no card. Inside, the book was wrapped in newspaper, one of those small-town weeklies with a crossword half-finished. I opened it carefully. The title made me stop breathing. "You remembered. You whispered it once." Half asleep. There was a folded note inside the cover. Just one line, typed, "You are my favorite plot twist." I couldn't speak. Instead, I cooked him breakfast the next morning. Nothing fancy. Just eggs and toast. But I shaped the toast into a heart, with a cookie cutter I'd never used. When he noticed, he smiled so wide it hurt my chest. Later, he cleaned the pan without being asked. Whispered into my ear as he passed, "This is my favorite kind of normal." He doesn't think he's special. He thinks this is what people do when they care. But people don't always do this. People don't always pay attention, don't remember the book you once mumbled about, or the way your hands tremble when you're overwhelmed. People don't always show up in the softest, steadiest ways. He does. That day, he filled every app we used, text, email, even my Slack, with little messages. Memes. Jokes. One-liners. Tiny affirmations like, "Still your biggest fan," or "There's no one I'd rather watch documentaries with." I don't think he knows what a gift that was. That he didn't try to fix me. Or change me. He just noticed. And in a world that constantly demands we be shinier, thinner, stronger, quieter, he gave me the gift of being exactly as I am. I wasn't looking for love. I just opened the door. Literally. And there he was. The guy who climbed 4 flights in the rain. The guy who brought me burgers and books and softness. The guy who let me fall apart and stayed anyway. He was just a delivery guy. Now he sleeps on the left side of my bed. He knows how I take my coffee. Which side of the couch I prefer. That I hum when I'm thinking. That sometimes I just need to be held without asking. We still have nights where we eat dinner in silence. But it's not heavy. It's the kind of silence that comes from being known. And every so often, he'll look at me like he's still surprised to be here. Like maybe, just maybe, he didn't expect to be chosen either. But we chose each other. Day by day. Knock by knock. Thread by thread. One night, as we lay in bed with the city buzzing far below us, I said, "It still feels unreal." He turned to me, eyes soft. "What does? This? You? Us? That all this came from nothing." He smiled. "Not nothing. A wrong floor. Sometimes the smallest missteps become your biggest miracles. We haven't said forever. We haven't said I love you in the grand, cinematic sense. But he tucks my hair behind my ear when I'm focused. He rubs my feet when I forget to move for hours. He texts me when I'm in court just to say, "You've got this." That's love. It lives in the quiet. In the staying. In the knowing and the choosing. He still leaves notes on the mirror. Still walks the dog when I forget. Still wipes down the counters like it's part of some sacred ritual. One morning I woke to find him in the kitchen, humming, wearing my oversized hoodie and making pancakes, terribly. But the smile on his face said it didn't matter. And that's what love has become for me. Not a sweeping gesture, or a lightning bolt. Just this man, in my kitchen, humming a tune he half remembers, burning pancakes, and somehow making it feel like everything that's ever hurt has led to this very moment. So now, when I hear a knock at my door, even if it's just the mail, my heart doesn't brace. It softens. Because once, I opened a door expecting nothing. And found everything.